Welcome back to another one of our custom bike builds, Bikes We Build. I'm Steve. This is our bike shop, Macklin Bike Shop, and we've been doing a lot of custom builds this year. It seems like we're more and more, every bike sale is starting to lean more and more to a custom build, whether that's straight up from the frame or we're taking a stock bike and making some tweaks to it, whatnot like that. So, and depending on the manufacturer and the brand, we can be pretty competitive on pricing as well. In fact, this bike here, given the good deals on NINER RLT frames right now, we're able to build this bike up and beat some of the OEM prices on it for similar build. So anyway, I thought I would share this bike. A lot of these have been RLTs, these custom bikes that we're doing. But anyway, I thought this was a great one. I really like this build. It's very similar to drivetrain build that I've been riding the last few years on a couple different bikes. So one an RLT and now a Time ADHX45. But anyway, so this is a 50 centimeter NINER RLT 9 RDO, so it's the carbon frame, and we built it up. So we got the frame and went from there. So first, what I'll start with is like working with this customer. We were first looking at, we compared with Cervelo Aspero. We also were doing some looking at Bianchi Architects, and fit just wasn't quite right on either one of those bikes. And we've had a lot of, not luck, but like a really good time fitting people on RLTs. The Geo is very neutral, and it seems like we can kind of take just about anybody and fit them on these bikes regardless. So we usually can come up with something pretty good. So anyway, the Aspero was maybe a little long, and going to the smaller frame was going to lower the stack too much. The Architects was probably decent reach, maybe also slightly long, but the stack was kind of high on it. So when you get the stack too high, then you start to want to get very upright, and then the reach can get a bit weird on it. So, and then we looked at the Geo on this bike and compare, and I think out of the box, we're pretty much going to be dialed. So I'll run through the build on the bike and we can go from there. So this is a Force Explore 1x, so 12-speed electronic shift Force build. And it's pretty much just a straight run-of-the-mill Force Explorer build. With the addition of, since we're building the bike, we went with the power meter version of the crank. So what you have in the drivetrain, you've got your carbon crank, you've got the spindle-based power meter. The bang for the buck's pretty hard to beat. It's the spindle-based, right? So it's basically effectively using that left side, but it works great. So Force derailleur, your Force cassette, blah, 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 all the same kind of similar stuff. So anyway, and as far as like cockpit goes on it, we've got an Easton carbon seat post, kind of like this. I like the adjustability for the angle on it, so you can clamp your fore aft seat position, and then independently of that, without having to loosen that up, you can adjust the angle of the seat. Pretty sweet. The stem is just a Easton aluminum EA70 stem. If I remember correctly, I think we might have went with a 70 millimeter on here, and currently have it set up kind of verted down. So if we did need more handlebar height out of it, we could raise it, flip it up. The handlebar, again, one of our favorite go-to handlebars, is the Easton EC90AX. It's got a little bit of flare, and the top has, I don't want to call it aero because it's not like super thin as you would, think of like a racy road aero bar, but it is not round. So it has a bit of a aero-esque shape to it. And if you're cruising along and you hit a stretch of road, you just need to kind of sit up or whatever, it's got a nice resting spot. So the tape that we have on it, this is actually becoming our go-to tacky black bar tape. It's the Wolf Tooth Light and Supple. It's easy to wrap, wraps awesome. It's super wide. And so anyway, if you're new at wrapping bars and you want to wrap your own bars and put new tape on instead of paying the shop to do it, it's pretty easy to get your overlaps right on this one. So it feels really well, really nice as well. So that's basically our go-to tacky black bar tape in the shop. So as far, we got a little bar end mirror on here, if you can see that. This is my favorite bar end mirror. We keep them in the shop. I don't ride a drop bar bike without them now. Was never a mirror guy in the past, and I put the dual-sided one on a bike at one point to do a gravel race because I thought it'd be handy to look down in the mirror and just see if somebody was on my wheel or overlapping wheels if I wanted to kind of switch lines on the road, and rode home with it and went, that's awesome. So yeah, there's always one on a drop bar bike, and so people see them in the shop. There's not a lot of new drop bar bikes that go out the door in the shop that don't end up getting one of these mirrors. The wheels. So we actually went with aluminum wheels. These are some of my favorite. I've been riding these wheels for a few years. I've yet to have to true them, and I've ridden a bit of rowdy gravel. And these are the HED Emporia GA Pro wheels. So they're less than $1,000. The weight's pretty competitive on them. In fact, they're just as light as a lot of your $1,500 carbon wheel sets, at least quality ones anyway. And they're local here out of the Twin Cities. So I really like these wheels. These have been our go-to gravel wheel upgrade, and they're versatile. You can run whatever tire you want on them, and so we like them. But pretty much anyone that's gone through doors set up tubeless on them anyway. And then the tires, these are the Vittoria Torino Dries. These have been a good tire for our shop. I've got quite a few miles on them myself as well. So that's what we went with on that. For the seat, we still gotta block it down, but likely going with this Prologo Dimension EVA, like a women's specific saddle. So we've got, Prologo has been this past year becoming a bit more of a go-to saddle in our shop. We started using it when we had a few come in on some bikes, and we rode them and we liked them. And they've got a few variety of shapes and whatnot. And so we've went ahead and purchased what you call the try and buys. So before this person heads out the door, they're gonna go ride this thing with the sample and make sure it works out first. So anyway, and of course, so these are just flat pedals so that I could do a verification test ride on it. So before any bikes go out the door here, they get after they come out of the stand, we're right next to a bike path. And so I do a test ride verification on them and make sure brakes are bedded in and nothing quirky comes up. So just make sure it's 100% ready to go. So anyway, we'll sort the pedals out then, and it'll get probably some clipless Shimano SPDs. So outside of that, yeah, we dig these builds. So this is, we really like the RLT. It's wild because there's lots of new gravel stuff on the market. We stock it here, right? We're Svello, Bianchi now, Jamis. I will probably do some videos soon on the Jamis Renegade. Finally got a chance to build one up for us to put some miles on, and here's one right now that's waiting for a customer to pick up. It's a good bike. It's good. So we'll get into that one. But right, we've Salsa, had a lot of Warbirds go out of the shop, Cutthroats. We used to be a Trek dealer. We stopped selling Trek as we moved into these other brands that we've enjoyed. But anyway, this bike, the NINER RLT, even though it has not seen an update in quite some time, has continued to be one of the better gravel bikes for our shop. And like all around, it is pretty tough to beat. I'm sure it's due for an update. Who knows? I don't know. It doesn't need to really be updated. It's pretty awesome as is. I mean, if I was to make any changes on it, maybe I'd add a bottle cage mounts to the bottom of the down tube. I used to be big on the all gravel bikes should fit 3 bottle cages, but after riding gravel a lot more, I think a few years ago, I realized that they just end up covered in dirt. So I'm kind of a frame bag guy, and extra bottles I just soon keep in the frame bag if I got to do that. So I dig this frame because you can put a fender on it, you can put a rear rack on it, it's got mounts for stuff, and yeah, we still got to get some bottle cages on it, find out if we're going to do a frame bag or whatnot. We try to keep them in stock for all of our NINER frames. So, but anyways, pretty sweet build, fantastic. Like I said, I can't remember where we came out on this, but I thought we were less than what a typical OEM force build bike is going to be. So I think potentially by like $1,000. A lot of that has to do with the price of the frame and then being smart about your wheel selection and that type of thing. You can spend a lot of money on wheels and not get a lot of bang for your buck. So like I said, that's why we like these HED Emporia GA Pros. So they've been one of our go-to wheels. It's what I ride, and yeah. Anyway, any questions, curious about other builds we do, getting something set up, questions about this bike or any of the others, leave a comment, and we'll go from there. Thanks for tuning in. Later.